Request everybody to take their seats and requesting everybody to put their mobile phones on silent mode, please. Now I request our chairman and chief guest, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, to take their seats on the dais. I request our chairman to greet our chief guest with a flower bouquet. Respected chairman, sir, chief guest, Shri Jayesh Ranjan, other dignitaries, Vice Chairman ASCI, students, participants, officers and friends in the media, I welcome you to the 66th ASCI Foundation Day lecture to be delivered by Shri Jayesh Ranjan, Principal Secretary, Industries and Commerce Department and Information Technology, Electronics and Communication Department, Government of Telangana. His title of his talk is Making Policies Work, Examples from Telangana. It's customary for me to introduce the speaker, even though Mr. Jayesh Ranjan is very well known to all of us here. A brief introduction of Shri Jayesh Ranjan. Shri Jayesh Ranjan is presently the Principal Secretary, Industries and Commerce and Information Technology Department, Government of Telangana, an officer as a member of the Indian Administrative Service 1992 batch. He was a topper of the batch in 1992. He holds a master's degree in psychology from University of Delhi, a degree in business management from IIM Calcutta, and a master's in public management from Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, National University of Singapore. Jayesh Ranjan ji has also done short courses from University of Birmingham, JICA Training Institute, Tokyo, London School of Economics on Globalization and Leadership, Kennedy School of Government, Harvard University, and Swedish Institute in Stockholm on sustainability and CSR. He was awarded the World Bank's Social Capital Visiting Scholarship in 2002 and the British government's Gurukul Chevening Scholarship in 2005. He has done international consulting assignments for the World Bank, UNSCAP, SIDA2 projects of Mexico, and for international NGOs working on youth issues like Yes Incorporated of the USA and NMC. He is part of the national pool of trainers in leadership constituted by the Government of India and is involved in training and mentoring of newly recruited civil servants. Among his other distinctions, he has been awarded the Royal Order of the Polar Star by His Majesty the King of Sweden in 2019 and holds an honorary doctorate from the University of Bolton, UK in 2022. Apart from his policy making, and we all know that many of the successful policies of the Government of India, Mr. Jayesh, have all come out of Mr. Jayesh Ranjan's brain, and he has been a leading figure in spearheading reforms. Many of those reforms have now been taken up by the Government of India itself. Apart from these, Mr. Ranjan also supports many social causes, like he's part of Save a Girl's Heart Foundation, Young Lives India Foundation, Save the Children, Spurs Hospice, APMAS, ML Jayasimha Sports Foundation, Hyderabad 10K Foundation, Vijaya Foundation, Usha Lakshmi Breast Cancer Foundation, LSN Foundation, Tejas Foundation, Magic Bus Hyderabad, World Wildlife Fund, Hyderabad Chapter, Hyderabad Literary Festival, Speak Mackay, Heal a Child Foundation, Moving Images, Society to Aid the Hearing Impaired, and he is also with the Institute of Public Enterprises, and he is also an honorable member of the ASCI Court of Governors. I welcome him on my own behalf, and now I'll request our chairman to give his opening remarks. before I request Mr. Ranjan to make his speech.
Friends, I joined the DG in inviting Shri Jayesh Ranjan here. You have heard the biodata. I don't have to say anything further than that. There is no cause which he does not champion. I think he is one of the most versatile persons, something like in the order of Leonardo da Vinci, that type of personality. He is a Renaissance man. He is very quiet. He doesn't talk very much generally and very low key. He is a very distinguished colleague of mine in the service. But I must tell you, I don't want to add much and then waste your time. In the civil servants, there are three types of civil servants. I must change the word. In the successful civil servants, there are three types. Unsuccessful ones, I am not touching. They are useless. In the successful ones, one section are great theoreticians. They write wonderful notes, arguing pros and cons and all that, and endlessly it would go on. The notings are brilliant. The second type of people they want to show they are more intelligent than the minister. So they always have problems in getting on with the ministers. They are good in their own way, but whatever the minister says, you say no minister, that is the response. There are other types who say yes minister, all the time yes minister. The third type is hands-on people, practical people, believing in delivering things. He belongs to the third category. He delivers what he wants to do. He is a perfect hands-on man. And somebody was saying at the time of tea that he is there every day in the newspapers. Not by his choice. It's because his job, requires that. If a huge company is coming here, Qualcomm or something else, or Amazon or thing, obviously it is a great news for this state. So since he has piloted it, he is bound to be there. And so I thought, you must listen to somebody who has delivered extremely successfully. So that's why we invited him here. Otherwise, normally, this is reserved for people who have gray, about 65 and above, because the foundation, 66th one, we are celebrating. So the guests also are of the same order, So an young, energetic, dynamic, and a man who delivers. And this one. With that, I would leave the floor to him, and he would speak for about 20-25 minutes. Then if you have any questions, please do ask him, and good listening to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Respected Chairman Shri Padmanabhaiah Garu, Director General Professor Bagchi, Vice Chairman Mr. Saldana, distinguished members in the audience, staff, students, guests. First of all, my congratulations to ASCI for completing 66 years. This is also a very important milestone. If you aspire to achieve something by 100 years, you are 2/3 down the line. And I'm sure we all know what kind of great things have been accomplished by ASCI in all these last 60 years, particularly in providing very valuable inputs to policy making at national level, state level. And I really feel very humbled to have been asked to come and deliver the Foundation Day lecture. So as was pointed out, I'll be speaking about some real experiences of policy making from Telangana. I have not read any book before coming here, so it's not an academic lecture. I have not prepared any presentation. I knew that there'll be lots of students in the audience, and the moment you show slides, they will get put off. So I deliberately chose not to bring any presentation. And I have chosen to come here because I can keep an eye on the clock so that after 20-25 minutes, I stop automatically. So as I said, I'll be giving you actual examples of how policies have been made in Telangana and how it is different from policy making elsewhere or historically in our country. See, what happens is that I get a chance to attend lots of conferences, seminars. I've studied public policy in Singapore. I've done short courses. And during these last 2.5 years of pandemic, there were so many webinars, etc. What I have noticed is that people, particularly in the Western world or some of these other advanced companies, I think we can call them G20 countries, they actually make fun of policy making in India. What they point out is that beautiful policies are written. They're written in beautiful English. They read so nicely. Sometimes they are printed on a glossy paper. So they also feel very nice. And if you keep the book close to your nose, the smell is also very nice. So it will smell nice. It will touch and feel nicely. It will read nicely, but nothing happens on the ground. Everything remains on the paper itself. Very little action follows on the ground. And if you really dive deep into it, what is the reason that great policies are written? As Padmanaya sir mentioned, some of the most brilliant people write those policies, but why is it that nothing happens on the ground? So 2-3 reasons. See, one is that if you actually read any of these policy documents, first of all, they are voluminous. I mean, pages after pages after pages. And if you read those pages after pages, most of it is very, very aspirational. In English, there's a phrase which are called motherhood statements. So like, I will go to the moon, I will go to the Mars, very aspirational, what is called 30,000 feet above the ground kind of a perspective. And very little of what is written points to any implementation. And the other important reason is that no one takes responsibility for that policy. I mean, someone has written, but who will implement it? Is there someone who will be held accountable if that policy is not really implemented? I mean, those issues are completely left unanswered. So in Telangana, when many of you would know that this is a new state, this is the youngest state in the country. It got created in June 2014, approximately 8.5 years ago. And when the new state came into being, so the leadership which agitated for this state eventually got a chance to administer this state as well. So there were huge responsibilities upon them. They had fought for almost decades to get a new state. And obviously people expected them to deliver. So they decided that they will deliver in a absolutely progressive, forward thinking kind of way. So one of the earliest messages which was given to us by our chief minister, by our ministers, was that we should not be bound by any legacy. Whatever was there in Andhra Pradesh, we should blindly continue to follow it. There's no such necessity. Just look at everything afresh. And chief minister is also very clear. See, some of you who are from Hyderabad or live here for many years, you will recall that in early days of his becoming the chief minister, he created a vision for the state, which is called Bangaru Telangana. For those who don't follow Telugu, it means literally golden Telangana. Like, I'll bring prosperity into this state. So of course, now 8 years have gone by, 8.5 years have gone by, and we can really see how things have changed, how things have improved. But in those days, back in 2014, one of the elements through which he wanted to deliver Bangaru Telangana was through investments. There were other elements also. For example, many of you would know that the state has invested a lot in irrigation, in farming. Lots of farming initiatives have been taken, which subsequently have been replicated in rest of the country. But he was very clear that investments will be one of the drivers of this prosperity, this Bangaru Telangana. So first thing which he did was he actually told us that let us talk to existing industries of the state and figure out what are their pain points. Is there something which they are bothered about, they're concerned with, and let us try to answer their pain points. So I still remember it was, I think sometimes in July in 2014, the government had just completed about a month or so. And not very far from here, there's a hotel called ITC Kakatiya. We gathered all the main local industries, then associations like CII, FICCI and all that. It was a packed room, almost 400 odd people were there. And Chief Minister sat there for 7 hours and he did not speak much. He just asked each of the representatives to come up, say what their challenges are, what their difficulties are. And at the end, he just told everyone that we have listened to you and give us some time to design something, respond to what you have told. And then he kind of moved away. So in that meeting, speaker after speaker after speaker complained about one thing, that getting approvals and permissions from the government is a big task. It is a big challenge. We have to run around from pillar to post, and people also realize that we are desperate. Our bank loans are ticking like a clock. We have ordered machinery, but approvals are not there. Papers are not with us, and people exploit us. And this is the worst part of doing business in, I mean, of course, Telangana was new. So in the earlier state of Andhra Pradesh and in the country as a whole. So they requested that if things can be changed or altered, that will be a big help. So that meeting had got over. I was at that time the commissioner of industries. I'm the principal secretary now, but there was another principal secretary at that time, and I was his subordinate. But I was looking after the same sector. So he called the two of us. The chief minister called us after a couple of days, and he told both of us that you listen to all of those speakers and the problems they were telling. So what is your suggestion? So I didn't speak much, but the principal secretary who was there, he was much senior to me. He gave some solutions. That he told that we'll create a single window, we will monitor all these investments, we'll ensure that all these things don't happen. But the chief minister is not satisfied with these kind of answers. So he told us that, but these things are always promised, that we'll have a single window, we'll monitor and this and that, but obviously nothing changes. And that is why you heard 70, 80 people complained that getting a permission or an approval is a Herculean task. And he told us that, no, think more, think kind of in a more out of the box way and come back again. So after a couple of days, we were called again. And this time the principal secretary brought in some technology solutions. He told that let everything be online, and we will monitor. I'll create a dashboard. If some permissions getting delayed, some red alert, red flag will be kind of raised, and then we can find out what is going wrong. But this also did not impress the chief minister. He said that no, one of the earlier chief ministers of Andhra Pradesh also was extremely technology savvy. I'm sure he would have tried out all these things, but obviously nothing would have worked. That is the reason why people are complaining. So these things don't work. I mean, it may make you feel good or look good, but at the end, it does not solve the problem with the people who are on the ground and who are facing these. So then he asked a question to us, and the question is so kind of stunning that for almost few seconds, at least my mind froze. That what kind of question is this? How come he's asking this question? And the question that he asked was that what is the need for giving approvals and permissions? So it's a very stunning question, because the whole rationale of government is to give permissions and approvals. And he's asking, why are you giving approvals and permissions? So he kind of turned the question 360-degree. And even the principal secretary, I noticed he was also speechless, but then he gave some answer that, sir, it is legally required. It is there in this law, that law, and all that. But then he told us that, see, all those laws have failed to deliver. They might have been created for some purpose, but people misuse it. People harass, people exploit, and no one is happy when these kind of laws still remain and they don't benefit the people. So he told us that let us do away with the system of giving approvals and permissions. Let us trust the people who are making an investment in your state. They have the option of going anywhere in the country. If they're coming to you, let us trust them. Let us do away with giving any paper of any approval or any permission of any kind. Then the principal secretary pointed out that we were sitting in that Pragati Bhavan, CM's office, and he told that suppose this building catches fire and there is no approval or permission. So what will happen? Obviously, the builder will straight away be sent to jail. So Chief Minister agreed to that. Then he told us to work it out like this. He told us that ensure, write a new law, ensure that when an industry is starting its activity, obviously it will take some months to construct the factory. It may take 9 months, 10 months, 1 year, 2 years, depending on how large that factory is. For that phase, tell that there is no requirement to take any approval or permission. Make it approval free, permission free. if they have taken land from the government, let us say they take the land in the morning, same evening they can start their construction. No question should be asked. But for the sake of putting them also under some kind of accountability system, ask them to give a self certificate which mentions that I will abide by all the laws of the land. And if I am found to be in violation of something, you can take whatever action. Ask them only to give this kind of a self certificate. And obviously for 1 year or 1.5 years, when they are constructing their factory, no approvals are required, no papers are required. That self certificate is sufficient. When they are ready with their commercial production, next month they're ready to produce whatever they intend to manufacture. At that point in time, all these technology things that you are speaking about, that you will give it online, bring all that thing. So that was a very kind of a radical way of thinking. So what we have done thereafter is that we created a law, which incidentally was the first law passed by the new state of Telangana. It was brought out after July in a couple of months. And then in November, when the first state assembly session took place, this was the first bill which was introduced, the first law, the first act which was passed. So this is called TSIPASS. So TS obviously stands for Telangana State. IPASS is Industrial Permission and Self-Certification System. So this law has 3 important features. I've already told you the first one, that it has actually 4 features. So I've already told the first one, that to start your construction, you don't require any approval or permission. You can start just like that. The second important feature is that when you are ready with your commercial production, you should apply online, and we guarantee to you, this law guarantees that all approvals and permissions will be given to you in 15 days. The third important, so this also is a very, very radically different thing, because as I have told you, in the past, the combined state of used to work Urban Development Authority. And I can give you Hyderabad Urban Development Authority's experience. First of all, people who have a layout to get approved or a commercial building to get approved, first of all, they will come to our office. Our office used to be where the American consulate is now. It's called the Paiga Palace. They would come carrying sacks of paper. I mean, literally, they'll be carrying papers in 2-3 gunny bags, sacks, and they will leave it at some counter. And the papers will go to the last man in the hierarchy, a junior planning officer. After months, he will decide to pay a visit. Then he will write some remarks. Then his senior will, after a few weeks, he will go for another visit. Then the third person will go. So after all the visits are over, someone will point out that you have not submitted this document. Then he will send some documents. Then this process will go again. And finally, it will end at such ridiculous levels. It will be pointed out that you have submitted a photocopy. You should have submitted the original. When he submits the original, it will be pointed out that you have signed in green ink here. It should have been signed in blue ink. So every possible way of harassing, of delaying, and it will take years to get a permission, etc. So to make this law that in 15 days, I'm guaranteeing approvals and permissions to you, that itself was a huge reform. And all the departments, they actually did carry out lots of reforms. They started relying on images, on technology. There's no need for any field verification. 3 people need not go. If at all someone has to verify, you can go only once within that 15 days period. We created a software where the application is loaded online. We have simplified the application. Instead of gunny bags, that kind of voluminous application, it is a simple application, just 2-3 pages, which captures the essence of what you are planning to do, where are you planning to do, and so on. And then we created something more interesting in the software. So the software itself sends the application to all the departments which are needed to give permission. The municipal department needs to give, the fire department needs to give, the water department needs to give, the land revenue department needs to give. So whichever are the pollution board requires to give. So every department automatically gets that part of the format which he is submitting that is relevant to you. But the bigger reform which we carried out was that once the form reaches a department, you have 24 hours only to point out some deficiency or shortcoming in the form. If you point it out within 24 hours, the clock will stop. And then till he resubmits, the clock will not move. But if you fail to point out something in 24 hours, it is presumed that it is in order and you have to clear it. There is no other solution. So that is the second important feature, that in 15 days, all clearances and approvals have to be given. The third feature which we introduced, which is that if you fail to give the approvals and permissions on the 15th day, then on the 16th day, it is considered approved. So if you don't do it, the person who has applied does not lose anything. He gets the approval to automatically start. So let us say I applied on 1st of December. If I did not hear anything till the 15th of December, on the 16th of December, I can start my production and no questions will be asked. And the fourth feature, which is again a very radical feature, I was somehow responsible for this particular feature. When I was introduced, it was mentioned that I've studied in Singapore. So Singapore is called the fine city. It's called a fine city. And one of the reasons it is called a fine city is because they fine you for everything, every small thing. There's some penalty and all. So looking at the way Singapore is administered, we introduced a fourth feature, which is that suppose you could not deliver all the approvals and permissions in 15 days, then an inquiry will be conducted to find out who was responsible for that delay. Suppose it is found that I was responsible for 4 days of delay. 4 days of my salary will be deducted and given to that company. Of course, I'm just using myself as an example. I have not lost my salary at all. But it is a fact. I should also tell you, I don't tell this outside. I don't know. I'm not sure if it is being recorded or not. But but in 7 cases, we have penalized people. Of course, not huge fines, maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days, 5 days. And see, so let us say some junior planning officer is penalized for 2 days of his salary, maybe 10,000 rupees or 5,000 rupees is deducted and given to an Amazon or a Google. What difference will it make? If I give Amazon some 5,000 rupees, what will they think of it? I mean, it's not even a drop in the ocean. It is, I mean, it's even, I mean, it is even more minuscule than that. But it is a question of accountability. I promised something. So am I standing up to it or not? Am I respecting that promise? So that is the idea. And more than the value of that amount, it is that humiliation, that shame. The 7 people have been penalized. And what I recall is that the last person who was penalized, we are towards the end of 2022. I think it had happened in 2019. After that, I don't recall anyone else getting penalized. So these are some of the ways in which policy was created, very radical, very kind of. So something else is true about India, which is that if some good policy is written in one state or in one department, many people copy it very, very quickly. I mean, the replication of policies is very fast in India. And I can share this with you that 8 years have gone by. Some of these 4 features that I spoke about, many people have now copied this automatic permission. But after a gap of almost 5-6 years, they were waiting and watching and not sure if I allow people to do things just by themselves without any regulation, without any approval. Will they completely go berserk? Will you see all kinds of illegal things happening? And when they saw that nothing of that is happening in Telangana, they got that confidence, and 3-4 other states have replicated that. Deemed approval, many other states have replicated. And this 15 days, also many states have replicated. Somewhere it is 21 days, somewhere it is 30 days, somewhere it is 15 days. But this, that I'll penalize my employees, no state has replicated because it is so kind of far-reaching. See, employees are considered to be holy cows. And if you say that I'll fine you, I'll penalize you, I mean, it will cause civil unrest. So no one else can even think in this way, but it has been done here. 7 cases are there and things have fallen in place. So this is one example of how, so this is one part of the story. The other thing is that, okay, like I said earlier, great policy, good intentions, very far reaching, addresses the problem of the investor who in large numbers complained about running around and not getting approvals, etc. The biggest problem which they spoke about, a solution has been found. But is it working? When I told that people have been penalized, who is monitoring it? Who is given the responsibility of implementing this policy? So Chief Minister was so kind of personally committed to this law. First of all, he ensured that this becomes the very first law which the state of Telangana passes. And then he was kind of so committed to it that in his own office, he created a unit which is called Chasing Cell, who was given complete responsibility to monitor all this business. How many people are applying, which department cleared it in how many days, how many people took longer than what is required, what was the reason. All this is done by a kind of an independent body, and because it is attached to the Chief Minister's office, I mean, obviously no one can kind of influence them or try to circumvent them. But that office also helped us in many ways, because certain departments were slow in carrying out internal reforms, changing their processes, etc. And they were able to push them to fall in line with the objectives of this IPASS Act. So because we have this kind of a law, Telangana has been rated year after year after year as one of the best states to do business in. In fact, I speak about it quite frequently. You all may not be familiar with some of the things which I'm going to tell now, but in our country, there's lots of competition amongst the states, at least amongst 10 states, to get investments. There are many other states also who have very aggressive kind of plans. There also the government believes that the investors will create Bangaru, let us say Bangaru Tamil Nadu or a Bangaru Karnataka or a Bangaru Maharashtra, Bangaru Gujarat, or whatever. So they're also very aggressive. But one thing which I always tell everyone, that look at amongst all these 10 states, which state has the best record in repeat investments. Like one investor has invested once. Has he decided to do a second project in your state, a third project in your state, or has he moved away? He did one project with you, but then he did his second one somewhere else, third one somewhere else. So what is the quantum of repeat investments? And I again feel very proud to share with you that the repeat investment numbers are the best in Telangana, which also is a very good testimony to the fact that these policies are working on the ground. It's not like the older case when good policies are written, but they're confined only to that book or that document. So because things are working on ground, they feel more comfortable and confident in repeating their investments. I can give you one example. There is a company which is called Hindustan Sanitary Ware Limited. In fact, if you go to the washrooms and all, you will see these basins and all that. That Hindware. I mean, it's a very old company. They manufacture all these sanitary kind of things, bathroom geysers and things like that. In the last 8 years of Telangana being a state, they have invested 7 times in this state. Not once or twice or 3 times, 7 times. Now things have come to such a state that whatever new project they want to do, they just close their eyes and bring it to Telangana. And I can tell this to you, this is not a company owned by some Telugu person. If some Telugu person is repeatedly bringing his investments, you can imagine that it's a kind of a, he's a local person. There's some sentiment, he wants to give back and all. So this particular company is owned by a person. His name is Somani, Sandeep Somani. So I have not asked him, but it's very clear that by his name, is obviously it's not a Telugu name. Actually, frankly speaking, from from what I understand, his ancestors might have been in the Sindh province, or what is now in Pakistan, and might have migrated and might have settled. I mean, he lives in Delhi, so he has nothing to give back here. He's not from Telangana. He has nothing ancestral here, but because the business environment is so fabulous, far superior to other states, he brings his investments. So these are some of the examples to show that there is a policy. The policy was prepared in a bottom-up way. We ask the investors, what are your biggest pain points? The policy provides solution. And if you read the policy, earlier I told you that policies used to be voluminous. Our industrial policy, this TSIPASS, is just a 20-page document. In fact, when I was writing it, I only have written it. So the ideas were largely from the principal secretary at that time, but he asked me to write it because he felt that I can write the way those older policies were written in good English and all that. But I was told very strictly that you have to stop in 20 pages. So it's just a small document, but every sentence that you read in that policy points to some action. So this is one policy which gives you three kind of lessons. One is that make it bottoms, understand the pain points which people are facing and try to find solution. The second is create an institution which will be responsible to implement that policy, in which case it is the chasing cell. And then aggressively promote and monitor and get the policy delivered and keep taking feedback about it. I'll very quickly give a second example. I won't take as long as the previous one, but maybe in 5-7 minutes, a quick second example. So many of you may be familiar that Hyderabad has a fabulous innovation institution, which is called T-Hub. Some of you might have physically seen it. Otherwise, you would have seen it in the papers. So T-Hub also has a very interesting background, like this particular industrial policy thing. So I'll again go back a bit in time and tell a little bit about how the T-Hub has come up. So as I told you, Telangana had become a new state in June 2014. And I'm sure many of you know that while the Chief Minister was the leader of the agitation, his son, who is the Minister for Industries and IT, so K.T. Ramarao, he also played a very important role. And he's someone who is very well educated. He has worked overseas. He has a very modern and progressive understanding of society, economics, governance, etc. So after the state came in being, he was given the portfolios of IT and rural development. And within days, actually, the state became a new state on 2nd June. I think on 5th or 6th June, he organized a brainstorming session at the Indian School of Business at ISB. And he called about the ISB director was there. Triple IT is another very important learning institution here. The dean of Triple IT was there. And some other faculty members, some other intellectuals, they were there. So minister asked one question to them, that Telangana has come after long years of decades of struggle. For all those decades, we have missed out on opportunity. So how do you pick up for that lost time? So the question that he posed was, and again, it is very interesting how he posed that question. See, if you have to do something quick, you typically use an expression, how do you fast track? Like I'm going in a normal speed, but how do I kind of go fast? So the term that we typically use is, how do we fast track? Sometimes if you have to do slightly even faster, another expression that we use is called leapfrog. Instead of just going fast, how do I kind of, like a frog, I kind of jump much faster, much longer. But he used a third expression, which again is a very evocative expression. He used expression, how do I pole vault? So it is not fast tracking, it is not leapfrogging. How do I, so pole vault, as you would know, like you jump maybe 20 times your height or 15 times your height. So how do I jump suddenly in one burst? So all these experts who were sitting in that room, they told us two things. The first thing which they told us was that technology can help you. I mean, if you look at the world around, all the Western societies which are advancing, technology is really being utilized by them. So make Telangana a technology-friendly state, technology-enabled state. And the second message which all of them gave was that if you look around, most of the radical transforming, path-breaking technology is coming from the world of young innovators, entrepreneurs, whom we call startups. So make Telangana a startup state. So these were the two key messages which were given to us, and then we kind of came back. So minister told us that let us talk to some of the startups. Just as CM had told that call all the industries, I want to understand from them. He gave the same suggestion, that call startups. So in Hyderabad in 2014, there wasn't much startup activity. We were far behind of all other cities. There were hardly some 70, 80 startups and 2 institutions where startups were getting some kind of a formal incubation support. One was in the campus of ISB, one was in the campus of Triple IT, and one was in our Genome Valley. Genome Valley is it's an industrial cluster, biotechnology, research, etc. happened. So 60, 70 startups were there because minister wanted to talk to them. We mobilized some 20, 30 people. So it was like this only. We were sitting here, 30, 40 people were sitting before us. So the question that we posed was that how do you think the government can help you? What are your ideas? And you will not believe it. The answer which came from most of them was that if the government stays away from us, that is the best help that we can get. So, I mean, today it sounds very funny, but you can also imagine, see, this is a kind of a narrative which has been propagated by the IT industry. Today, IT industry, we all know how big it is. So IT industry has always kind of perpetuated this narrative that because the government stayed away from us, we have become so big, which is not factually true. In fact, one of the biggest help the government did to the IT industry was to waive off all taxes. All income taxes were waived off for 20 years. So they could make profit, reinvest. Of course, they have done great things. I'm the IT secretary. I can't speak against the IT industry. But this kind of myths that because the government stayed away, we have done so well. So startups also, they are influenced by these kind of ideas and thoughts. So they also said that if you just don't come our way, we'll be well off. The thinking was that the government is associated with all this over-regulation, micromanagement, poking your nose where it should not belong. So that was the kind of concern. But then we reframed the question. Then we reframed the question in exactly the same way as we had done in that industrialist meeting. We asked them that what are the pain points that you face, and do you think government can solve your pain points? So then lots of answers came. In fact, T-Hub is the response to one such answer. Many startups told us that, see, those of you who live in Hyderabad would be familiar that the hub of our IT industry, knowledge industry, is an enclave which is called Cyberabad. So all this Gachibowli, Madhapur, and all this Raidurg, all that is called Cyberabad. So all the IT companies are there, all the institutions, ISB is there, Triple IT is there. So a startup also, he would obviously like to be there because that is where he can network, meet people, all the action is there. But like any other city, any other urban phenomena, prices will become very high. When the whole world is coming there, obviously real estate will go very high. So this is something which the startups told us, that we want to be in Cyberabad, but the rentals are just not affordable. And therefore we are forced to be in some Amirpet or Begumpet or Sikandrabad. So we are in the fringes. We are not where the action is. And because they mentioned this as one of their biggest pain points, the ministry immediately decided, let us build something for them and charge absolutely nominal rentals and make it available to them. So we first constructed the T-Hub building inside the Triple IT campus. Some of you may be aware that also was a large building. In fact, when it was constructed, it was the largest incubator in the country, 70,000 square feet. But then we realized that there is so much of appetite, and it's not a good building alone. I mean, what happens inside the building is much more important. In fact, lots of people used to go to that T-Hub. Now they come to the new T-Hub. They take pictures and all, which is fine. But we always tell them that go and see inside what is happening. That is far more impressive. So we found that even for that T-Hub, even though it was very large, there was a huge waiting list. While 800 odd people got inside, lots of people were in the waiting list, and then they will feel disappointed that I've not got into T-Hub and all that. Then we decided that we'll build something bigger. So T-Hub, the first one, was itself the largest building in the country. But then we decided to build something which will be 5 times bigger. And that is the new T-Hub, which is 3.5 lakh square feet. So it came primarily as a response to this. And then in our policy, there are various other things also. Again, it is a simple policy, our startup and innovation policy. Points, writes about all the pain points which startups fix and gives solutions, practical solutions on what the government will do for you. So that is one thing. Then again, as I told you about India, that one of the common criticism is that policies are written, but no action happens on the ground because no one takes responsibility for that. So in this case, let us say the government has decided that innovation will be under the IT department. I'm the IT principal secretary. So someone may tell that you are the secretary, it is your responsibility to implement the policy. So vicariously it is, but obviously I have 50 other things also to do. So I won't be 24/7 implementing this policy. While I'm interested in innovation, I'm passionate about innovation, but obviously I can't spend all my time looking at innovation. So what we have done is that we have created institutions who are responsible for implementing this policy. So T-Hub is only one of the 7 institutions that we have. T-Hub looks after technology incubation. We have created another institution called T-Works, which looks after prototyping. People are into hardware who want to make something. For example, during COVID times, lots of people manufactured ventilators in our T-Hub, other devices in T-Hub, in T-Works. We have created another institution called V-Hub, which is focused on women entrepreneurs. We found that in T-Hub and T-Works, largely men are going. I mean, there are women, but obviously not in the same ratio as one would expect. So we decided that we should give them a separate independent space. Then V-Hub was created. Then we found that in all these institutions, T-Hub, T-Works, V-Hub, only urban kind of candidates are going. People who are from Hyderabad, who have gone to college, who wear these kind of dresses, who speak English. We are missing out on all the rural talent which is available. In fact, some of you may find it surprising, but there is lots of wisdom in the rural areas also. But people who are in the cities like us, we tend to look down upon it. We use a phrase which is called jugaad, that if something is happening in rural areas, it is only some makeshift kind of a solution. There's no science behind it. There is no application of mind. Again, none of which is true. So we created another institution called Telangana State Innovation Cell. Then we felt that innovation pipeline should be created. It is not that when you become 20 or 25 or 30 that you start thinking about innovation. Innovation should come at a very, very early age. So we created another institution which promotes innovation in college students. It is called TASK. Then we found that there are so many knowledge institutions in Hyderabad. Lots of defense labs are there, lots of agriculture labs are there, lots of sciences, life sciences, R&D institutions are there. But unfortunately, their doors are very difficult to open by a startup. So we created another institution called RICH, Research and Innovation Circle of Hyderabad, whose job is to liaise with all these institutions and make their labs and their faculty and their knowledge available to the startups. So this was the second decision we have taken, that create a bottoms-up policy, create institutions who will take responsibility for implementing this policy. And there is a third very important thing. See, anyone else can also create a T-Hub. It's just a matter of sanctioning budget and doing some creative designing, etc., and create a cool building. Anyone else can also create these institutions. But the third very important question is, who will run these institutions? Where is the talent available to run these institutions? And in Telangana, in our government, we are very clear right from day one that the talent to run these institutions could be there in the government also, but much better talent is available outside, and we should bring them in. So this may surprise you, but if I look at the two of my portfolios and I spoke about all these institutions, there are close to 350 people who have been taken from the open market and who work with us. And I can tell this to you, that some of the most brilliant people have joined us. I can give you the example of the T-Hub CEO, just as an example, and this is the last point I'm making. So I won't talk about the present CEO. The present CEO has just joined, but the CEO who was here before him, unfortunately, he had to leave after 3 years because his family had a very troubled COVID. I think he lost his father-in-law and his mother was, I mean, they had a very tough COVID, like many families in our country and in the world. So he's from Bangalore. So he felt that he can't live in Hyderabad and remotely monitor his elderly in-laws and parents and all. So he moved on. So I can speak about him now because he's not here. So first of all, his academic background was very distinguished. He went to IIT Bombay. He's a semiconductor person. He studied there. Then he went to the US to do his master's. He studied in one of the better universities at Berkeley. Then he worked with some of the top semiconductor companies like Cisco, Juniper, etc. for some years. Then he decided to become an entrepreneur. So his first venture did not do very well. His second venture also was a failure. But his third venture was a huge success, and it was bought over by a large technology company in the US. And I can share this with you. Uh, see, I don't know most of you, but without knowing any one of you also, I can tell this to you that excluding Mr. Saltana, he'll be richer than all of us put together. Excluding Mr. Saltana and Dr. Raghuram, excluding these two people, he'll be richer than all of us put together. And I'm telling this very, very confidently. But obviously, so he doesn't need to work. I mean, if the person is so rich, there's no need for him to work. That too in a government job, getting some salary, but he chose to respond because he has himself learned so much through entrepreneurship. He wanted to give back. He wanted to train young people. He wanted to mentor young people. And he was doing brilliantly. So all the 350 people who are there with me, they have one backstory or the other like this one. Extremely motivated people who have been selected only on the merit of their track record and their capabilities. And we give them complete autonomy. See, normally, so T-Hub is there. It's of course a government institution. One would imagine that every day some recommendation will be going to the T-Hub CEO that accommodate this startup. He's my MLA's son, or accommodate this person. The Punjab secretary told me that he's someone known to me. We never do any such thing. Complete autonomy is given. Our only job as the government is to select the CEOs of all these institutions, and everyone else is selected by the CEO. He brings his team, and obviously I can tell something else about T-Hub too. So these are all board-run institutions. Board. So the T-Hub board is like this. It's a 10-member board. 3 members are from the 3 top academic institutions. So the dean of ISB is a board member. The director of IIIT is a board member, and the vice chancellor. Some of you may know this. There's a very good law school in Hyderabad. It's called the National NALSAR, National Law School. I don't really recall the full form, but NALSAR is called NALSAR. So the vice chairman of NALSAR is there. Because it is a technology incubator, 3 people are from the technology world. So Tech Mahindra is the biggest technology company based out of Hyderabad. The CEO of Tech Mahindra is here. There's another prominent technology company called Scient. The Science chairman is on the board. He's also on the board of our institution, and like that. So then there are 3 people who are from the VC world, venture capital, because funding is very important for startups. So there are 3 people of Hyderabad origin today who run very successful VC firms. Those 3 are there, and I am the 10th member. So 9 people. So this is very unusual for a government institution. If you look at government institutions, there'll be this minister, that secretary, chief secretary, commissioner, director. I mean, of the 10, at least 9 or 8 positions will be filled by government nominees, and 1 or 2 people symbolically, just to show that it's a balanced kind of a thing. 1 or 2 experts will be brought from somewhere, but they'll not be allowed to have anything to say. So it's first of all very rare that it's a board in which there is only 1 government nominee and 9 others. So on very, very rare occasions, when government is cornered in such a situation that it is 1 versus 9, one trick which the government plays is that your nominee becomes the chairman. So even though there are 9 others, I am the chairman, so I'll decide what eventually will happen. I'll sign the minutes, I'll write my thing. It is my way or the highway. But in neither T-Hub nor any of the institutions we have done like that. So in T-Hub, our chairman right from day 1 is Mr. BVR Mohan Reddy, who incidentally, as I said, is also your board member. In V-Hub, Sangeeta Reddy, who is the joint managing director of Apollo Hospital. V-Hub is a women, as I told you, it's a women-focused institution. So she's the chairperson of the board. I'm just a member like any other 9 members. So these are the key takeaways. You prepare a bottoms-up policy, understanding the pain points, write the policy document so that it keeps reminding you that you have to take these actions. Create systems or institutions of accountability, which will have 24/7 responsibility of implementing that policy, and bring talent which will implement that. So this is the way it has been done in Telangana. And I feel very proud. I mean, there are so many policies, but I was personally associated with these two, the industrial policy called TSIPASS and the startup policy. And in both these two domains, we have done very well. Today, Telangana is seen as some kind of a national role model. People come from afar to study our industrial policy, to visit our T-Hub and other institutions. And I'm very happy that I got some chance to kind of share these experiences with all of you. Thank you very much for your patient ear.